Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're embarking on a really unique deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at an incredibly ancient and, well, profound source,
Mm-hmm.
the 10 Satipaṭṭhānasuttaṃ.
That's right.
And this isn't just some historical document, is it? It's seen as a foundational teaching, almost like a practical roadmap.
Exactly. For understanding your own inner world and ultimately finding some real clarity, especially with all the noise of modern life.
Finding clarity, yeah.
And what's really striking is how the text itself kicks off, right? It states its core promise very clearly.
Oh, what does it say?
It says, this teaching is, and I'm quoting loosely here, the one-way path for the purification of beings,
Purification.
for overcoming sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and distress, for attaining the right method, for realizing Nirvana.
Nirvana, that's a big concept. What does it mean in this context?
Well, for our purposes here,
Hmm.
think of it as a state of profound liberation, an ultimate release from suffering, a deep, untroubled inner peace.
A release from suffering. Okay. So our mission then in this deep dive,
Yeah.
it's really to explore these 4 powerful pillars, these foundations of mindfulness that make up this path.
That's it, the 4 Satipaṭṭhānas.
And hopefully you, the listener, will find some practical insights, things from way back then that are actually surprisingly relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. Very relevant.
Okay, so let's transition into that first foundation, Kayanupassana, mindfulness of the body.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with something completely universal, doesn't it? Something everyone has, your body.
It does. And the text invites us to begin really simply, just observing the breath.
Just the breath.
Yeah. You notice if you're breathing in long or breathing in short, breathing out long, breathing out short. You just know it.
Ah.
There's this great analogy in the text like a skilled woodturner or a carpenter.
Okay.
When they make a long pull or a short pull with their tool,
Mm-hmm.
they know exactly what they're doing. How much tension is there? It's that kind of awareness.
It's very precise, but natural, not forced.
Exactly. Just being present with the natural flow. And the insight here is pretty profound, actually.
Oh, so?
By tuning into just this basic bodily function, you immediately ground yourself right here, right now, in the present moment.
That makes sense. Breathing is always happening now.
And this awareness, it then extends out to all your physical activities.
Like?
Well, whether you're walking or standing or sitting down or even lying down, the practice is just to know what the body is doing.
Simply knowing, not judging, like, oh, I'm slouching again.
Nope. Not judging, not trying to change in that moment. Just pure, non-judgmental awareness of your physical state. What is?
Okay. So it's about bringing this kind of heightened, almost meditative awareness to everything, even just, walking to the kitchen.
Pretty much. That sounds incredibly powerful for just everyday life.
So what's the next layer then? What else does the text suggest for body contemplation?
Well, this leads into something called clear comprehension, sampajanya.
Clear comprehension.
Exactly. It's about being fully aware of all your actions, from the really mundane stuff like going out and coming back, looking ahead or looking behind,
Okay.
to the more intimate things like eating, drinking, chewing, tasting, even speaking or choosing to be silent.
Wow, that's comprehensive.
It is. The key is bringing this quality of clear understanding, clear comprehension to every single movement, every interaction, recognizing the purpose, the process of what you're doing as you're doing it.
That requires a lot of attention.
It does build that muscle, yes. And building on that, the teaching then guides you into something, well, surprisingly detailed, a contemplation of the body's internal makeup.
Okay, how so?
Instead of seeing your body as just this solid me, you reflect on it part by part, from head to toe.
You mean literally thinking about
Literally.
Oh.
Observing it as this temporary collection of various components. Hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, stomach, feces, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, saliva, mucus, fluid in the joints, urine. The list goes on.
Wow, that's specific.
Very specific. And the text uses this really vivid analogy.
Yeah.
It's like a bag with 2 openings filled with different kinds of grain, maybe rice, barley, beans, sesame seeds, husked rice.
Okay.
And someone with good eyesight tips it out and examines it. This is rice, this is barley, these are beans. You see the components clearly.
So the point is to see the body not as a unified self, but as parts.
Exactly. By dissecting it in your mind like this, you start to loosen that tight grip of attachment. You see, the physical form isn't some permanent, unchanging identity. And that realization could be incredibly liberating.
That's a really profound shift in perspective, and I remember reading it gets even more fundamental, talking about elements.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Following that detailed breakdown, there's a reflection on the body as just a composition of the four basic elements.
Earth, water, fire, wind.
That's them. Earth for solidity, water for cohesion, fire for temperature, and wind for motion or energy.
And there's an analogy for this too.
There is. It's compared to a skilled butcher, or their apprentice, who has slaughtered a cow.
Okay.
And having dissected it piece by piece, they're sitting at a crossroads displaying the parts.
Making them clearly visible.
Right. So you see the body not as this single solid thing, but as a temporary coming together of these fundamental forces or qualities. It further chips away at that sense of a solid self tied to the physical form.
It really aims to deconstruct our usual view of ourselves.
It does. And then comes perhaps the most confronting part for many people, but also profoundly insightful.
Which is?
The cemetery contemplations.
Ah, right. I've heard about these. They sound intense.
They can be. The practice invites you to visualize, or perhaps historically observe, a corpse in various stages of decay.
What kind of stages?
It's quite graphic. From a body cast away in a charnel ground, maybe 1, 2, or 3 days.
Yeah.
Dead, swollen, bluish, festering.
Yeah.
To being eaten by crows, hawks, vultures, dogs, jackals, or various worms and creatures.
Right.
To a skeleton held together by sinews, with or without flesh and blood. Then just loose bones scattered around, hand bones here, foot bones there, skull over there. Then bones bleached white like shells. Then bones piled up after more than a year. And finally, bones crumbled and turned to dust.
That's a very stark image. What's the purpose? It's not just morbidity, is it?
No, not at all. The purpose isn't shock value. It's to drive home a crucial concluding reflection at each stage.
Which is?
You reflect, this body of mine too is of the same nature. It will become like that. It is not exempt from it.
Ah, so it's a direct, almost visceral way to understand impermanence.
Exactly. And to detach from the illusion that your body is somehow permanent or special, it confronts mortality head on to foster dispassion.
Okay. Wow. That's quite a journey through the first foundation. Deeply physical.
Very physical.
So from that intense physical exploration, let's shift focus. We move inward, right, to feelings. Dhyananupassana.
That's the second foundation, yes. Mindfulness of feelings or sensations.
This feels like a natural next step, but maybe significantly more subtle.
It can be, yeah. Feelings are happening all the time, but we often react automatically.
So what's the core challenge here? Trying to observe feelings without, getting totally swept away by them.
That's exactly it. Here, the practice is simply to observe the 3 basic types of feelings as they arise in your experience.
Which are?
Pleasant feelings, unpleasant or painful feelings, and neutral feelings, neither pleasant nor painful.
Okay, simple enough categories.
But the text adds a crucial distinction. It talks about worldly feelings.
Worldly.
Yeah, these are feelings connected to the senses, to sensual pleasures, to attachment, to the ordinary world of gain and loss.
Right.
And it contrasts these with non-worldly or nirvana feelings.
Which arise from?
These arise from detachment, renunciation, or from deeper meditative or spiritual states.
Yeah.
Free from that sensual grasping.
Ah, I see. So recognizing the type of feeling is important.
It is. But the fundamental challenge and the real core insight here is simply to observe these feelings pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, worldly, non-worldly as they arise.
Okay.
As they persist for a time, and as they inevitably pass away.
Without getting caught.
Without getting caught up in them. Without reacting automatically with craving for the pleasant or aversion to the unpleasant.
So it fosters detachment.
Exactly. A vital detachment from their power over you.
Yeah.
It lets you experience emotions fully, but without being constantly swept away by their intensity. You see, they're just feelings passing through.
Okay. From body to feelings, now moving even deeper, right? To the mind itself. Satipaṭṭhānasuttaṃ.
Yes, the third foundation. Mindfulness of mind or consciousness.
This feels like maybe the most subtle domain yet. What exactly are we observing here? It's not thoughts, is it? It's the state of mind.
Precisely. It's observing the overall quality or state of the mind as it manifests moment to moment.
Like what kind of states?
The text lists various pairs.
Yeah.
You simply know if your mind right now is with greed or without greed, with hatred or without hatred, with delusion or without delusion.
So the presence or absence of these unwholesome roots.
Exactly. And also whether the mind is contracted and scattered, whether it's developed or undeveloped, surpassable or unsurpassable?
Surpassable.
Meaning, is it a state that can be transcended, or is it a higher, more liberated state? You also note if it's concentrated or unconcentrated.
Liberated or unliberated.
That's a wide range, so the key takeaway isn't necessarily to change the mind state immediately.
You're not in the moment of observation itself, no. The profound shift here isn't trying to force your mind into some better state right then and there.
What is it then?
It's simply to know its current state, as it is, without judgment.
Just knowing, there's greed present, or the mind feels scattered.
Exactly that. And this non-judgmental observation reveals a crucial insight.
Which is?
Every single mental state, no matter how intense or subtle, is impermanent. It arises, stays for a bit, and passes away.
Like clouds passing through the sky. A classic analogy, yes. Just seeing them come and go without getting entangled, without identifying with them, that's the key to inner freedom. You see the mind's nature.
It's really remarkable how this ancient text offers such a practical step-by-step path. It's not just abstract philosophy, is it?
Not at all. It's a direct guide to addressing suffering, grounded in your own experience.
Okay, so what does this all build towards? We've got body, feelings, mind. What's the final foundation? Dhammanupassana. Mindfulness of mental qualities or phenomena. How does this tie everything together?
This is where we really bring it all together, yeah. Dhammanupassana looks at the entire landscape of mental experience, the underlying principles or dhammas that govern it.
Okay, so what does that involve?
First, it involves observing the five hindrances. These are seen as the common mental obstacles that cloud our clarity.
The hindrances. Right, what are they again?
Sensual desire, ill will or aversion, sloth and torpor, that heavy, sluggish feeling of mind and body.
Uh-huh.
Right. Then restlessness and remorse, the agitated, worried mind. And finally, doubt or uncertainty, particularly about the path itself.
Okay, those sound familiar.
They tend to be. And the practice here is quite specific. It's not just noticing them.
No.
You learn to know when each hindrance is present within you and when it's absent.
Okay.
Crucially, you understand how it arises, how it comes to be. You also understand how it can be abandoned or overcome.
Right.
And finally, how you can prevent it from arising again in the future.
That's very practical. Understanding the whole life cycle of the hindrance.
Exactly. It's vital for clearing the path, for allowing deeper awareness to emerge.
Makes sense. What comes after the hindrances in Dhammanupassana?
Next, we look at the five aggregates of clinging, khandhas in Pali.
The aggregates, these are fundamental building blocks of experience, aren't they?
They are. The text lists them as form, our physical body and the material world. Feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, perception, recognizing and labeling things. Mental formations, this is the big one, includes intentions, volitions, habits, impulses.
Okay.
And consciousness, the basic awareness of sense objects.
So pretty much everything we experience is covered there.
Pretty much. And the core insight here, the practice, is to observe their arising and their passing away.
Seeing them come and go.
Yes. Which leads to the direct realization of their impermanence and also their non-self nature. The understanding that these aggregates are not inherently you or yours.
So they aren't a reliable source of lasting happiness.
Precisely. Because they are constantly changing and ultimately not self, clinging to them leads to suffering. Understanding this is key.
Okay, aggregates. What else falls under mental qualities?
Then mindfulness extends to the six sense bases, yatanas.
Our senses.
Our internal senses and their external objects. So the eye and forms, the ear and sounds, the nose and odors, the tongue and tastes, the body and tactile objects, and the mind and mental objects or ideas.
The six channels through which we experience the world.
Exactly. And here, the practice involves observing how fetters, sanyujana, arise.
Fetters, like chains.
Sort of. They're mental chains
Yeah.
or defilements, things like attachment, aversion, ignorance that bind us. They arise based on the interaction between an internal sense base, like the eye, and an external object, like a pleasing form.
So when seeing something nice, attachment might arise.
Right, or seeing something unpleasant, aversion arises. The practice is to know the sense base, know the object, and know the fetter that arises dependent on both.
And like the hindrances.
You also come to understand how that fetter arose, how it can be abandoned, and how its future arising can be prevented.
It's a pattern, isn't it? Knowing presence, absence, arising, abandoning, preventing.
It's a very systematic method for dismantling the causes of suffering at their root, where our mind meets the world. It leads toward liberation from their pull.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there more to the Manupassana?
Yes, there are also the positive qualities to cultivate. The 7 factors of awakening, bodhisattvas.
Ah, the awakening factors. These are the wholesome state.
Exactly. These are 7 qualities that naturally arise and get strengthened through dedicated practice, especially as the hindrances weaken.
What are they?
First is mindfulness itself, sati, the very practice we're discussing. Then investigation of phenomena, dhammavagaya, understanding the nature of things, energy or persistence, virya, rapture or joy, piti, tranquility, passaddhi, concentration, samadhi, and finally equanimity, upeka.
Equanimity, that balanced state.
Yes, a state of balanced, unshakable inner peace, accepting things as they are. These 7 are seen as the ingredients, you could say, for awakening.
So, observing hindrances, understanding aggregates and sense bases, and cultivating these awakening factors, it's incredibly comprehensive.
It truly is, and it all culminates in the direct understanding and application of the core teaching.
Which I think is where this really gets to the heart of it all.
Absolutely, the 4 noble truths.
4 noble truths, let's unpack those.
Right, so the first noble truth is the truth of suffering.
Yeah. And this isn't just like physical pain.
No, it's much broader, much more comprehensive than that. The text defines it very clearly. It includes birth itself as suffering, aging is suffering, death is suffering.
Okay. The big unavoidable reality.
Yes, and also sorrow, lamentation, physical pain, mental distress, and despair. These are all suffering.
Right.
It also includes associating with what you dislike, being separated from what you like.
That feeling of frustration or loss.
Exactly. And perhaps most fundamentally, not getting what you want is suffering.
That covers a lot of ground.
It does. And the text provides a powerful summary. In short, the 5 aggregates of clinging are suffering.
So our very psychophysical existence, when subject to clinging, is inherently unsatisfactory.
That's the essence of the first truth. It's a diagnosis of the fundamental human condition looked at clearly.
Okay. Diagnosis made. What's the second truth? The cause.
The second is the truth of the origin of suffering. Samudaya. This points directly to the root cause.
Which is?
Craving, thirst, desire, attachment.
Just craving in general.
The text specifies 3 main types.
Yeah.
Craving for sensual pleasures. Sight, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, appealing ideas. Craving for existence, or becoming, the desire to continue, to be something, to achieve.
Right. Ambition, ego.
Could be part of it, yes. And craving for non-existence, the desire for annihilation, to get rid of something unpleasant, even oneself.
That last one is interesting, too.
It is. And the text explains where this craving arises and takes root.
Where?
In whatever seems agreeable and pleasing in the world. It links directly back to those 6 sense bases and their objects we just talked about. The eye sees a pleasing form, craving arises there. The ear hears a pleasing sound, craving arises there, so on.
So the origin is this reactive thirst that arises from sense contact.
Precisely. That's the second truth.
Okay. So we have the problem suffering and the cause, craving. What's the third truth? Is there a way out?
Yes. The third is the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha. This presents the solution, the cure. It's the complete fading away and cessation of that very craving. It's abandonment, relinquishment, letting go, release, freedom from it.
So stopping the craving stops the suffering.
That's the principle. And crucially, the text emphasizes that this craving ceases exactly where it arises.
Back at the sense bases.
Back at the point of contact between the senses and their objects, where that reactive thirst usually kicks in. If you can meet experience with mindfulness instead of craving, suffering ceases right there.
Okay. Problem, cause, cessation. That logically leads to the fourth truth.
The truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. Magga.
The path. This is the how-to, right? The practical guide.
Exactly. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. And it's important to see these 8 factors not just as sequential steps, but as interconnected aspects of a holistic practice. They support each other.
Okay. What are the 8 components?
First is right view or right understanding. Samadhi. This primarily means understanding these very 4 noble truths we've just been discussing, seeing reality clearly.
Got it. Starts with understanding.
Second is right intention or right resolve, samma sakkappa. This involves intentions of renunciation, letting go of harmful attachments, intentions of non-ill will, goodwill, loving kindness, and intentions of non-harming, compassion.
So purifying our motives.
Yes. Then come the ethical conduct factors. Right speech, samavaka, abstaining from lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. Right action, sammakamanta, abstaining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. And right livelihood, samagabi, earning a living in a way that is ethical and doesn't harm others.
Okay, the ethical foundation.
Very important. Then we have the mental discipline factors. Right effort, samavaga. This is the effort to prevent unwholesome states from arising, to abandon ones that have arisen, to arouse wholesome states that haven't yet arisen, and to maintain the wholesome ones already present.
Actively cultivating the good.
Yes. Then, right, mindfulness, samasati, and guess what this is?
Let me guess. The 4 foundations of mindfulness we've spent this whole deep dive exploring.
Exactly. Body, feelings, mind, mental qualities. It shows how the entire path circles back to and is grounded in this core practice of moment-to-moment awareness.
Wow, it all interconnects.
It really does. And finally, right concentration, samasamadhi. This refers to developing deep states of meditative absorption, known as the 4 jhanas. These states bring profound inner peace, stability, and clarity, which support the arising of wisdom.
So the whole path is this integrated training of ethics, mental discipline, and wisdom.
That's a perfect summary.
Mm.
Together, they form the comprehensive training for liberation outlined in the 4th Noble Truth.
What an incredible depth and just the sheer practical nature contained within this, well, this ancient deep dive.
It really is something.
It truly offers such a comprehensive step-by-step way to address the core human experience of suffering and liberation. And it's all about working with what's right here, your own body, your own mind, not needing to seek something outside.
That's a key point. And the text itself, right near the end, gives this really powerful promise, or perhaps an encouragement.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It states that if someone practices these 4 foundations of mindfulness diligently, really commits to it,
Okay.
for even a relatively short period, the text mentions 7 years, down to 7 months, even just 7 days.
7 days.
Even 7 days with dedicated, continuous practice, they can expect one of 2 profound results.
Which are?
Either final knowledge, meaning full awakening or realization right here in this very life,
Wow.
or, if some residue of clinging still remains, the state of non-returning, meaning they won't be reborn into the cycle of suffering again after this life.
That's quite a promise.
It's a very strong statement about the potential efficacy of the practice. It really serves as an encouragement, I think, an invitation for you, the listener, to consider the personal implications.
Right. What could happen if you really applied this?
Exactly. Understanding this direct path to inner purification, to peace. What could that mean for you? Maybe just starting with a little focused attention.
Yeah.
Just bringing a bit more awareness to the nuances of your own experience.
Yeah.
Your breath, your feelings, your thoughts, moment by moment. It might just unlock some really unexpected insights.
Insights into your mind, your life.
And then maybe the world around you, too.
Yeah.
It all starts with looking within